Hello everybody, my name is Brianna Bilo and I'm a meteorologist here with the National Weather Service office in Grand Junction, Colorado, and this is your Spring 2026 seasonal weather summary. So just to kind of start, Meteorological Spring runs from March 1st. It runs from March 1st to May 31st. So the beginning of Meteorological Summer occurred on June 1st. So just to start off, we're going to recap our stories of the month for Meteorological Spring, and most of these are kind of depressing. So for March, we have historically bad snowpack. Considering the cold season, that we've had so far, it shouldn't come as a surprise that the snowpack in Utah and Colorado is in pretty bad shape. But the data points to this being a historically bad year with the worst snowpack conditions since records began. According to Russ Schumacher at the Colorado Climate Center, the snowpack for the entire state of Colorado peaked at 8.55 inches, which is 51% of the normal median peak, and occurred a month ahead of average. Additionally, this is the lowest peak since snowpack measurements with the SNOTEL system began, which was in 1987. And neither other historically snow-poor years, the snowpack still increased substantially between March 1st and April 1st, which has not happened this year. And that is part of what sets this year apart. No matter how you slice it, and no matter what data you look at, the winter of 2025 to 2026 is historically bad. And with worsening drought and already hot and dry conditions, concern is growing over what the rest of the spring and summer season has in store. Luckily, we did see a little bit of an improvement as we moved through the rest of the spring, as you'll see in the next snowpack update. But as things looked at the end of March, this was pretty depressing. We were completely off the chart as far as we're not within the minimums at all, and we had been riding the minimum line the entire winter. And it really did look like we were just going to completely melt out before we even reached our typical peak around April 10th, April 11th. So this was definitely kind of a scary moment when we had no idea how things were going to go. Drought was worsening. The month of March had been ridiculously hot. But luckily the month of April was better. So our April story of the month was snowpack conditions update. There's no way around it. The snowpack in the west is still in very bad shape. But the month of April did give us enough of a boost that, at least in Utah and Colorado, the snow hasn't completely melted out. Much cooler temperatures during the month of April significantly slowed the melting of the snowpack. Additionally, a more active and wetter pattern helped to actually boost the snowpack at times, or at least to make up for what snow was lost during the warmer periods during the month of April. As a result, both Utah and Colorado's statewide SWE values have crawled back onto the graph, albeit just barely. So if you can remember, we were here in the last snowpack update, and it really did look like this line was just going to continue to keep going. Luckily it didn't. We got a boost as we moved into April and continued to see very, very minor little boosts as we made it through the month of April and into the month of May, which did actually finally put us back onto the graph past the minimum line. So we're definitely not in great shape, but we're not in a historically unprecedented position the same way we had been between March and the end of May. So we'll take it. We hadn't completely melted out by May, so call it better than it could be, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more of a boost. But unfortunately, that hot March really did kind of, it really put us in a difficult position, because if we had seen just this trace from here, we might have actually made it close to something approximating average for the time of the year. But alas, it is what it is. Moving into May, finally, something not about the snowpack. Wow. So the month of May, we had our May roller coaster. The month of May wound up being quite the roller coaster when it came to weather conditions, from mountain snow and temperatures feeling more like early April than mid-May, to widespread fire weather conditions and near record high temperatures, to surprise severe weather and even a few pleasant spring days in between. It seemed like the month of May had it all, and even a bit of much needed precipitation as well, but that precipitation really did mainly favor areas north of the I-70 corridor. And then these images just kind of illustrate the kind of month we had, where we had critical fire weather conditions with humidities less than 50% and winds gusting 30 to 40 miles an hour. We had widespread mountain snow with our northern divide mountains picking up a foot or two. Wow. And we even saw some severe weather with some small hail, some gusty winds, and a surprise tornado warning that turned out to be the first of the year in the state. If you know anything at all about the potential tornado that occurred near Meeker, please let us know, because we have no information and no way to know if anything actually occurred other than our radar scans. We don't have eyes on the ground all the time, so appreciate that. Moving into our data-driven portion, we have our highest highs of the month, or of the season rather, with our highest high being 96, which occurred in Canyonlands on the 12th, and our lowest highest high being 81 in Aspen on the 13th, and understandably the highest highs of the season occurred in May, and they were all clustered around May 12th to the 13th. As far as our low temperatures are concerned, this one's a little bit more scattershot, and that kind of speaks to the very strange spring season we had, where we had some of our coldest temperatures, and we also had record highs in the month of March. So our lowest low was 9 degrees in Meeker on the 3rd. Our highest lowest low was 24 degrees in Grand Junction on March 7th. This was April 3rd, by the way. And most of these were clustered either around that March 7th date or that April 3rd date, with a few kind of random ones like Durango on April 18th and Aspen and Rifle on March 16th and Canyonlands on the 7th of March. Or no, wait, that's one of those dates. Never mind. So definitely it kind of illustrates how we really saw this kind of thing going on throughout the spring season. Precipitation, unfortunately, not the best, but it's also not the worst I've ever seen. The least precipitation we saw fell at Canyonlands with a little over an inch for the entire season, which is about 0.6 of an inch below normal. Our big winner was Craig, who's our only site to see above normal precipitation, with 4.6 inches of precipitation, which was almost a third of an inch above normal. We had a few sites kind of within that inch of normal, so Meeker, Vernal, Montrose. We had Rifle, who actually got very close to breaking even. And then we have our handful of sites, so Durango, Cortez, Grand Junction, Aspen, who were all more than an inch below normal. But I've also seen seasonal summaries where we've been multiple inches below normal, so it could have been a lot worse, but it also could have been better. We could have had everybody be above normal, or at least more people closer to breaking even. So that's kind of just the year we're having, where it definitely could be a lot worse, but it could be significantly better too. Looking at our drought tendency outlook for the summer season, so I'll remind you that Meteorological Summer runs from June 1st to the end of August. The Climate Prediction Center is actually favoring us to see drought remaining but improve, or drought removal completely likely, that's an interesting call. They seem to be vibing with the idea that we'll actually get a decent monsoon and we'll see some significant improvements in our drought conditions, although the drought will not completely go away. If we can just get rid of the exceptional to extreme drought conditions, the D3s and the D4s, I will be a very happy camper, because I will no longer have to enter all of those into storm data. As far as the seasonal outlook is concerned from the Climate Prediction Center, these are very in line with the monthly outlooks that we've been seeing, where we continue to be favored for above normal temperatures. This is 50 to 60% tendency towards above normal temperatures. So this is a decently strong signal, with maybe a slightly less strong signal around the four corners, which kind of makes sense considering they are also favoring us for above normal precipitation, and typically you will see cooler temperatures when you see higher precipitation because of increased cloud cover. So that makes sense, but still overall they are favoring us for above normal temperatures throughout the summer season. And then looking at precipitation, as I mentioned, they are actually Climate Prediction Center is favoring us for above normal precipitation. This is a 40 to 50% tendency, so not the strongest signal, but I mean, it is a signal and it is there, and it's promising. So kind of the core of our area of eastern Utah and western Colorado is favored to see this 40 to 50% tendency towards above normal precipitation, with the rest of our area kind of in this 33 to 40% slight tendency towards above normal precipitation, and equal chances to either side. So as far as the Climate Prediction Center is concerned, there will be some moisture this summer. Whether this arrives in the form of some good monsoonal pushes or just passing waves, yet to be determined. That's it for the spring seasonal summary. I hope you enjoyed it. There are other monthly videos that you can watch if you want to get a more in-depth recap of the season, month by month. There are written summaries that you can check out. There's one linked in the description. And I hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye.